Long Beach International Karate Championship had never been this quiet. More than 7,000 spectators packed every seat inside the enormous arena. Bright overhead lights flooded the polished wooden competition floor, while dozens of photographers waited with cameras raised, hoping to capture the moment that would become tomorrow's headline. The air carried the familiar scent of polished wood, sweat, and anticipation. Everyone had come expecting violence. Instead, they found silence. At the center of the arena sat Bruce Lee, not standing, not stretching, not warming up. He simply sat on a plain metal folding chair, dressed in a black traditional martial arts uniform. His hands rested naturally on his knees, his breathing slow and steady. His eyes remained calm, almost detached from the roar surrounding him. Some spectators whispered. Others wondered whether something was wrong. Several reporters exchanged puzzled looks. Why isn't he preparing? Has he changed his mind? Is he refusing to fight? Nobody understood. Then the entrance doors slammed open. Every head turned. Heavy footsteps echoed through the arena. 1, 2, 3. Each step sounded like a hammer striking concrete. A massive fighter walked into the spotlight. He stood well over 6 feet tall, with enormous shoulders that stretched the sleeves of his white karate uniform. Thick muscles covered every inch of his body. Dark tattoos climbed across both arms, wrapped around his chest, and disappeared beneath his belt. His jaw remained clenched. His expression carried absolute confidence. He believed this evening belonged to him. The crowd immediately reacted. Some cheered. Others looked nervous. Even veteran martial artists sitting near the front rows exchanged uneasy glances. The giant slowly walked across the competition floor without taking his eyes off Bruce Lee. Bruce never looked away, not once. The giant stopped only a few feet in front of him. Still, Bruce remained seated. The fighter laughed. "So," his deep voice echoed through the arena, "this is the famous Bruce Lee." No answer. "I expected someone taller." Still silence. "I expected someone stronger." Bruce continued breathing slowly. The giant circled him once like a predator examining prey. "You know what I see?" Again. No answer. "I see a man pretending to be fearless because he's too afraid to stand." The audience shifted in their seats. Some expected Bruce Lee to explode with anger. Others expected him to stand immediately. Instead, Bruce quietly spoke. "I've been standing my entire life." The giant frowned. Bruce continued. "The only difference is that today I'm sitting." A ripple of laughter spread through parts of the audience. The giant's smile disappeared. "You think you're funny. I think you're angry." "I'm not angry." Bruce slightly tilted his head. "No? If you weren't angry, you wouldn't need everyone in this arena to know how strong you are." The fighter's eyes narrowed. "You know nothing about strength." Bruce slowly looked around the arena. "I know everyone here came to watch martial arts." His gaze returned to the giant. "But you came to perform." The words landed harder than any punch. A few people applauded. The giant's face reddened. Without warning, he stepped closer. So close that only inches separated them. His shadow completely covered Bruce Lee. "You think I came here for attention?" Bruce answered calmly. "No. I think attention is the only thing you've ever truly won." A loud gasp rolled across the audience. Even the photographers lowered their cameras. Nobody expected Bruce Lee to answer with words sharper than punches. The giant leaned down until his face almost touched Bruce's. "I can break every bone in your body." Bruce looked directly into his eyes. "You probably can." The giant blinked. "But if that's the first thing you think about," Bruce paused, "then you've already lost." Silence. Complete silence. For nearly 10 seconds, nobody spoke. Nobody moved. The giant suddenly smiled, not because he was amused, because he had decided something. Slowly, he raised one hand, then extended a single finger directly toward Bruce Lee's face. The insult drew shocked reactions throughout the arena. Flashbulbs exploded from every direction. Every photographer knew this image would become historic. Still, Bruce never reacted. Not a single muscle moved. "You won't even stand?" asked the giant. Bruce answered quietly. "Why?" "So we can fight. We already are." Confusion crossed the fighter's face. Bruce continued, "You're trying to control my emotions." He tapped his own chest. "I'm trying to understand yours." The giant laughed loudly. "I don't need understanding. I need victory." Bruce nodded. "So that's what you're chasing?" "Of course." Bruce looked toward the audience. "And what happens tomorrow?" The giant frowned. "What?" "You win tonight." "So?" "You wake up tomorrow." "So?" Bruce's voice remained soft. "Who will you be then?" The fighter answered immediately. "A champion." Bruce slowly shook his head. "No. You'll still be the same angry man wearing a different title." Those words cut deeper than anyone expected. The audience could feel it. The giant's breathing became heavier. His fists tightened. Veins appeared across his forearms. Bruce noticed every detail, not because he feared him, because he studied him. The giant finally shouted, "Enough!" His voice echoed through the arena walls. "You came here to fight," Bruce answered. "I came here to teach." The crowd erupted. Some applauded, others booed. Everyone had chosen a side. The announcer looked uncertain. Should the match begin, or had it already begun? The giant took one slow step backward, then another. He rolled his shoulders, cracked his neck, closed both fists. His eyes transformed. The conversation was over. Only action remained. Bruce Lee finally stood. The audience exploded. The contrast between them was astonishing. The giant towered above him. Bruce looked almost impossibly small beside him. One appeared built from granite. The other moved like flowing water. The referee stepped between them. He explained the rules. Neither fighter listened. The giant stared only at Bruce. Bruce watched only the giant's breathing. His shoulders, his feet, his balance, his rhythm. The referee raised one hand. The arena became perfectly silent. No whispers, no movement, no applause. Only thousands of people holding their breath. The referee's hand dropped. The giant exploded forward. His opening attack carried enough force to knock almost anyone unconscious. But before the punch could even reach its target, Bruce Lee disappeared. Not backward, not sideways. He moved through an angle the giant never expected. The fist sliced through empty air. Gasps erupted from every corner of the arena. The giant spun instantly, throwing another punch. Again, nothing. Bruce was already somewhere else. The enormous fighter attacked a third time, a fourth, a fifth. Each strike became faster, each one more violent than the last. Yet Bruce never counterattacked. He only moved. Each step seemed impossibly small. each movement almost invisible. The giant's frustration grew with every missed strike. The audience watched in disbelief. Bruce Lee wasn't running, he wasn't retreating, he was teaching, without throwing a single punch, and the giant had no idea. The real lesson had only just begun. The giant's fist cut through empty air for the 6th time. Another deafening gasp swept across the arena. Bruce Lee had moved only inches, yet those inches made the difference between victory and humiliation. Every dodge appeared effortless, almost invisible. His feet barely made a sound against the polished wooden floor. The giant stopped for a brief moment, chest rising and falling. His breathing had already changed, not because he was tired, because he was confused. He had expected resistance. Instead, he found emptiness. Bruce stood several feet away, hands relaxed at his sides. No fighting stance, no clenched fists, no signs of fear, only complete composure. The crowd began whispering, "Why isn't Bruce attacking? He's had plenty of chances. What is he waiting for?" Even experienced martial artists seated near the front rows exchanged puzzled glances. They had never witnessed anything quite like this. Bruce Lee wasn't trying to score points, he was observing. Every blink, every breath, every shift of weight, every emotional reaction. The giant slowly smiled. "You think you're embarrassing me?" Bruce answered calmly. "No. I think you're embarrassing yourself." The words struck harder than any kick. The giant's jaw tightened. "You keep talking." Bruce nodded. "And you keep proving my point." The fighter's eyes burned with anger. Bruce continued. "Your strength is real." The giant looked surprised. "But your patience is weak." "You've known me for less than 5 minutes and I've already made you lose control." Those words echoed inside the giant's mind. He hated admitting it. Bruce was right. Every attack had become more emotional, less precise, less disciplined. The giant roared and rushed forward again. This time he abandoned traditional karate technique. He attacked like a charging bull. His shoulders slammed forward first, hoping to crush Bruce with raw momentum before finishing with a devastating elbow strike. Bruce waited. The audience couldn't believe it. He wasn't moving. The distance closed. 10 feet, 8, 6, 4, 2. Just before impact, Bruce pivoted, not backward, not sideways. He rotated only enough for the giant's shoulder to miss by less than an inch. The enormous fighter stumbled past him. Bruce gently placed one hand against the man's back. He didn't shove. He barely touched him. Yet the giant's own speed carried him completely off balance. His feet tangled. He stumbled 3 long steps before barely recovering. The audience exploded into applause. Bruce still hadn't thrown a strike. The giant spun around. His face was red, not from exhaustion, from humiliation. "You pushed me!" Bruce shook his head. "No, you pushed yourself." Boos and cheers echoed throughout the arena. Some spectators loved Bruce's calm confidence. Others wanted him to stop talking and start fighting. The giant cracked his neck. "This ends now." Bruce slowly raised one hand. For the first time since standing, he adopted a guard. Not a rigid karate stance. His body remained loose, relaxed, fluid. His front hand floated effortlessly. His rear hand rested lower than most fighters expected. The giant laughed. "That's your guard?" Bruce answered quietly. "No. It's an invitation." The giant accepted. He launched a lightning-fast front kick aimed directly at Bruce's ribs. Bruce's left forearm redirected it. The kick missed. Instantly, the giant followed with a spinning back fist. Bruce ducked beneath it. Without stopping, the giant fired a right hook. Bruce leaned away. A left elbow. Bruce stepped inside. A knee strike. Bruce turned his hips just enough to let it slide harmlessly past. The exchange lasted only seconds. To the audience, it looked impossible. Bruce wasn't escaping. He was flowing. Each movement blended naturally into the next. No wasted energy, no panic. The giant finally created enough distance to breathe. Sweat now rolled down his forehead. His confidence had begun to crack.
Bruce looked at him.
"You've thrown 23 attacks." The giant blinked. "What?" "You've landed none." The audience erupted again. The fighter's frustration exploded. "You've landed none either." Bruce smiled. "I wasn't trying to." Those words sent another wave through the crowd. The giant clenched both fists so tightly his knuckles turned white. "You think this is a game?" Bruce's expression became serious. "No." "I think this is your future." "My future?" Bruce nodded. "If you keep fighting with anger instead of awareness, someone someday won't stop after making you miss." The giant laughed bitterly. "You're threatening me?" "I'm warning you." Silence settled across the arena once again. Bruce took one slow step closer. "You've trained your muscles." Another step. "You've trained your speed." Another. "You've trained your power." Now they stood only a few feet apart. "But you never trained your mind." The giant answered with action. A sudden downward hammer fist crashed toward Bruce's head. Bruce slipped outside its path. The fist slammed into the wooden floor with tremendous force. The impact echoed through the building. Before the giant could recover, Bruce moved. For the very first time. A blur. His lead foot slid forward. His shoulder rotated. A short palm strike landed softly against the giant's chest. Not hard, not explosive, barely enough to wrinkle the uniform. The audience looked confused. "That's it?" The giant laughed. "Is that supposed to hurt?" Bruce quietly stepped back. "I didn't hit you." The giant frowned. "What?" "I showed you where I could." Only then did the giant realize something. Bruce's palm had stopped directly over his heart. If Bruce had chosen to strike with full commitment, the opening had been completely unprotected. The realization chilled him. For the first time that evening, doubt entered his mind. He hid it behind another roar. "You'll have to do better," Bruce answered softly. "No." "You will." The giant attacked again, this time with far greater discipline. No wild charges, no reckless swings. He began combining punches and kicks with proper timing. The audience leaned forward. Now the match truly resembled a contest between masters. A straight punch. Bruce parried. A roundhouse kick. Bruce slipped underneath. A back fist. Bruce leaned away. A knee. Bruce rotated around the outside. The giant adjusted. Bruce adjusted faster. Every exchange became more intense. Wood creaked beneath their feet. Uniforms snapped through the air. Heavy breathing mixed with the growing excitement of thousands of spectators. Neither fighter blinked. Neither gave ground willingly. The giant suddenly feinted high, then launched a devastating sweep toward Bruce's legs. Several spectators screamed. Bruce jumped, but instead of retreating, he landed inside the giant's reach. The crowd gasped. That was the most dangerous place to be. The giant immediately drove a powerful elbow downward. Bruce intercepted the arm. Their forearms collided. For the first time, real contact. The sound echoed sharply across the arena. The giant smiled. "I finally touched you." Bruce looked directly into his eyes. "No, you finally slowed me down." Before the giant understood those words, Bruce vanished again. Only inches, only one step. Yet it completely changed the angle. The giant's balance shifted. Bruce's foot lightly brushed against the outside of his ankle. Nothing dramatic, nothing flashy. But suddenly, the giant felt the floor disappear beneath him. His enormous body tilted sideways. The entire audience rose from their seats. For a fraction of a second, it looked as though the massive fighter was about to crash to the floor. At the very last instant, he planted one hand on the wood and pushed himself upright, narrowly avoiding the fall. The arena erupted into thunderous applause. His breathing was now ragged, his confidence was fading, and for the first time since entering the Long Beach International Karate Championship, the giant looked at Bruce Lee, not with arrogance, but with caution. Bruce lowered his hands once more. His voice remained calm. "You've stopped trying to impress the audience." The giant remained silent. Bruce gave a small nod. "Good. Now," a faint smile crossed his face, "we can finally begin the real fight." The applause slowly faded. For several long seconds, neither man moved. The giant stood near the center of the polished wooden floor, breathing heavily. Sweat dripped from his chin and landed on the wood beneath him. His white karate uniform no longer looked perfect. Wrinkles covered the fabric, and his belt had shifted during the relentless exchanges. Across from him, Bruce Lee looked almost untouched. His breathing remained steady. His black uniform showed no sign of panic. Only his sharp eyes betrayed how intensely he had been studying every movement. The referee glanced from one fighter to the other. Neither asked for a break. Neither wanted one. The giant slowly wiped the sweat from his forehead. "I understand now." Bruce tilted his head slightly. "Do you? You've been waiting for me to make mistakes." Bruce smiled faintly. "No. I've been waiting for you to notice them." Those words settled heavily over the arena. The giant remained silent. For the first time that evening, he wasn't thinking about defeating Bruce Lee. He was thinking about understanding him. The audience sensed the change. The fight had become something much greater than a contest of strength. It had become a battle between two completely different philosophies. One relied on force, the other relied on awareness. The giant slowly bowed his head, not in surrender, in respect. When he raised it again, his eyes had changed. The rage was still there, but now it was focused. Bruce nodded. "There you are." Without another word, the giant exploded forward. This attack looked nothing like his earlier charges. His footwork became lighter. His shoulders stayed relaxed. His punches traveled shorter distances. He had learned. Bruce immediately recognized it. "Better." The giant threw a sharp jab. Bruce slipped outside. A right cross followed instantly. Bruce redirected it with his forearm. The giant spun into a hook kick. Bruce leaned backward so far that the heel passed inches from his nose. Before Bruce could fully recover his posture, the giant stepped inside with a rising knee. Bruce twisted his hips. The knee brushed against his jacket. The audience gasped. It was the closest anyone had come to striking Bruce all evening. The giant saw it. A smile crossed his face. "I touched you." Bruce nodded. "You earned that." The words energized the giant. He attacked again and again. Each combination became smoother. His punches connected naturally with his kicks. He stopped wasting energy. Every movement had purpose. Bruce's expression remained calm. But inside, he was pleased. This was exactly what he had hoped for. A fighter who could think instead of simply attack. The exchanges became faster. To many spectators, the movements became almost impossible to follow. Only the sounds remained clear. Footsteps gliding across wood, uniforms snapping through the air, sharp breaths, hands meeting forearms, legs redirecting kicks. Neither fighter spoke. The arena itself seemed to disappear. Only two martial artists remained. The giant suddenly changed levels. A quick body punch. Bruce blocked. A spinning elbow followed. Bruce ducked. Then came an upward kick. Bruce jumped. For the first time all evening, Bruce landed slightly off balance. The audience noticed immediately. "So close! He almost had him!" The giant recognized the opportunity. Instead of rushing recklessly, he paused. Bruce looked at him with approval. "You didn't chase," the giant answered while circling. "I finally understood." Bruce smiled. "What did you understand?" "If I chase speed, I lose." Bruce nodded. "And? If I stay patient, I create openings." Bruce's smile widened. "Exactly." The giant suddenly launched another attack, not because he was angry, because the moment was right. His timing had improved dramatically. A quick left hand distracted Bruce's vision. A low kick forced Bruce to adjust. A spinning back fist followed immediately. Bruce barely slipped beneath it. The crowd erupted. The giant pressed forward, not wildly, precisely. Bruce defended each attack with incredible efficiency. A parry, a sidestep, a shoulder rotation, a pivot. Every defense flowed into another, but this time, the giant remained with him. He wasn't falling for traps anymore. He wasn't overcommitting. Bruce quietly thought to himself, "He's learning faster than I expected." The realization brought another small smile. The giant noticed. "What?" Bruce answered honestly. "I'm proud of you." The words froze the giant. In the middle of a fight, no one had ever said that to him. Not his instructors, not his teammates, not his opponents. He hesitated. Only for a fraction of a second. Bruce immediately stepped backward. "You hesitated." The giant exhaled. "I wasn't expecting kindness." Bruce slowly lowered his hands. Martial arts without kindness becomes violence. The audience remained completely silent. Every word echoed across the enormous arena. The giant slowly nodded. "I spent years believing fear created respect." Bruce answered softly. "No. Fear creates obedience. What creates respect?" Bruce looked directly into his eyes. Character. For several seconds, nobody attacked. Thousands of spectators watched two martial artists standing only a few feet apart. No hatred, no insults, only mutual understanding. Then, the giant bowed, not because he had lost, because he had accepted Bruce Lee's lesson. Bruce returned the bow. The audience exploded into applause. Some even stood. Photographers rushed closer. Many believed the fight had ended. They were wrong. The giant raised his guard once more. "This time, I want to test everything you've taught me." Bruce nodded. "Then come." The atmosphere instantly changed again. This final exchange carried no arrogance, only determination. The giant attacked first. His combinations became beautiful, sharp, controlled, balanced. Bruce answered with equal precision. Their hands met in rapid exchanges. punch after punch, block after block, kick after kick. Neither wasted movement, neither showed fear. The speed became astonishing. From the audience, the fighters appeared surrounded by constant motion. The giant attempted a sweeping kick. Bruce leaped over it. Bruce countered with a quick side kick toward the giant's ribs. The giant blocked. Bruce immediately transitioned into a spinning back kick. The giant narrowly avoided it. Cheers erupted throughout the building. The pace accelerated again. Every exchange tested balance, timing, distance, control. The giant suddenly trapped Bruce's lead wrist. For the first time all evening, the crowd believed Bruce might be caught. The giant drove forward with tremendous force. Bruce rotated with the pressure instead of resisting it. The movement freed his arm instantly. Before the giant could react, Bruce stepped inside. 1 inch, that was all. A short palm strike stopped gently against the giant's chest. Again, no force, only perfect positioning. The giant looked down, then back at Bruce. Bruce quietly said, "Twice." The giant understood immediately. Bruce had once again reached the exact opening needed to finish the fight, without hurting him. The giant slowly smiled. "I still have much to learn." Bruce answered, "So do I." The giant looked confused. "You?" Bruce nodded. "A true martial artist never graduates." The audience applauded once again, yet both fighters remained focused. Neither realized the most unforgettable moment of the entire evening was still waiting. The entire arena stood frozen. Thousands of people remained on their feet. Nobody reached for the exits. Nobody looked away. Every spectator understood they were witnessing something that would be talked about for decades. The giant slowly stepped backward. His chest rose with every deep breath. Across from him, Bruce Lee remained perfectly composed. Neither man had been knocked down. Neither had been seriously injured. Yet everyone could feel that the fight had already transformed both of them. The referee glanced between them. "Continue?" Neither fighter answered. They simply raised their guards. That was answer enough. The arena erupted one final time. The referee stepped aside. The last exchange began. The giant moved first. Not with anger, not with pride, with purpose. His feet glided across the wooden floor far more smoothly than they had at the beginning of the evening. Bruce noticed immediately. He smiled. "You've changed." The giant answered while circling. "So have you." Bruce nodded. "Good." Without another word, the giant launched forward, a lightning-fast jab. Bruce slipped outside. A low kick followed instantly. Bruce lifted his leg just enough to check it. The giant spun into a back kick. Bruce pivoted. The heel missed by barely an inch. Before either fighter could reset, Bruce attacked. For the first time since the match began, he truly attacked. His lead hand shot forward, not toward the giant's face, toward his shoulder. A quick touch, nothing more. The giant instinctively blocked, exactly as Bruce expected. Bruce's rear hand immediately changed direction. Palm, elbow, back fist, side kick. Every movement flowed into the next like water running downhill. The audience exploded. The giant defended brilliantly. Forearm, step, pivot, block, counter. He had learned. Every lesson Bruce had given him was now visible inside his movements. Bruce's eyes shone with quiet satisfaction. The giant was no longer fighting Bruce. He was fighting the version of himself that had entered the arena earlier. The pace increased. Neither man paused. Punches blurred together. Feet barely touched the floor. Every exchange ended only to begin another. The sounds echoed throughout the championship hall. Sharp breaths, sliding feet, uniforms snapping through the air, controlled impacts against forearms and open hands. Nothing wasted. Nothing reckless. The giant suddenly fainted high. Bruce didn't react. A second feint, still nothing. Then the giant launched his fastest combination of the evening. 3 straight punches, a spinning elbow, a jumping knee, a roundhouse kick. Bruce answered every attack with astonishing precision. Slip, parry, pivot, duck, step, redirect. The audience could hardly breathe. Several photographers had completely forgotten to press their camera shutters. They simply stared. One veteran martial arts instructor whispered, "I've never seen timing like this." The giant continued pressing forward, not because he believed Bruce was weakening, because he wanted to discover his own limits. Bruce suddenly stepped inside. So close their shoulders nearly touched. The giant reacted instantly with a powerful elbow. Bruce trapped the arm, rotated his hips, released. The giant countered with a short hook. Bruce rolled underneath. The exchange happened so quickly that many spectators never understood what they had seen. Both men separated again. The giant smiled. "I almost had you." Bruce smiled back. "You almost understood distance." The giant laughed. "I'll take that as progress." "You should." The giant inhaled deeply. His heartbeat slowed. His breathing steadied. For the first time in years, he wasn't thinking about winning. He was thinking about improving. Bruce saw the transformation. Now, he decided the lesson was complete. Bruce slowly raised one finger. "One last exchange." The giant nodded. "Everything I've got." Bruce answered, "Everything you've learned." They bowed to one another. Silence returned. Even the cameras stopped clicking. The giant exploded forward with incredible speed. His opening combination was flawless. Every strike carried balance. Every movement connected naturally into the next. Bruce met him head-on. Hands flashed. Legs collided. Neither gave an inch. The pace became unbelievable. The audience saw only fragments. A hand, a foot, a shoulder turning, a body disappearing from one angle and appearing at another. The giant threw one final spinning kick. Bruce slipped inside its arc. The giant immediately followed with a straight punch. Bruce redirected it. The giant adjusted. Bruce adjusted faster. Their forearms collided. Their shoulders brushed. Their feet crossed. Then, everything stopped. Bruce stood beside the giant. His right palm rested gently against the center of the giant's chest. His left hand lightly controlled the giant's wrist. The giant's own fist had stopped only inches from Bruce's shoulder. Neither had struck with full force. Neither needed to. The entire arena fell silent. The giant slowly looked down, then back into Bruce's eyes. He finally understood. Bruce had reached a decisive position without using unnecessary violence. Bruce quietly said, "This is where the fight ends." The giant remained motionless. "If you wanted," Bruce nodded. "I know. You could have finished it." Bruce slowly lowered his hands. "But then you would only remember the pain." The giant swallowed. Bruce continued, "I wanted you to remember the lesson." For several seconds, neither man moved. Then something unexpected happened. The giant lowered both fists. His shoulders relaxed completely. Without being asked, he bowed deeply. Not a small gesture, a sincere bow. one earned through humility. Bruce immediately returned the bow with equal respect. The audience erupted into the loudest applause of the evening. People stood on chairs. Some shouted Bruce Lee's name. Others applauded the giant for accepting the lesson instead of allowing his pride to control him. The applause continued for nearly a full minute. The referee finally stepped forward. He looked at both fighters. "I have no loser to announce." The crowd cheered even louder. The giant turned toward Bruce. "When I walked into this arena, I believed strength meant making people fear me." Bruce listened quietly. The giant continued, "You defeated that belief." Bruce smiled gently. "No." "You defeated it yourself." The giant nodded slowly. "I understand now. Real power isn't measured by how hard we can hit." Bruce folded his arms. "Then how is it measured?" The giant looked around the arena, then answered with complete confidence. "By how much control we have, even when we could destroy someone." Bruce's smile widened. "Now you're beginning to understand martial arts." The giant extended his hand. Bruce accepted it. The handshake lasted only a few seconds, yet it meant more than any trophy that could have been awarded that evening. The crowd applauded again, not because someone had won, because two fighters had left the arena stronger than when they entered. As Bruce Lee walked toward the exit, the giant called after him, "Master Bruce." Bruce stopped and looked back. The giant smiled. "I came here hoping to defeat a legend." Bruce waited. The giant bowed one final time. "Instead, I found a teacher." Bruce gave a respectful nod before quietly walking away. The lights inside the Long Beach International Karate Championship slowly dimmed. The audience left with memories of breathtaking speed, incredible skill, and a battle unlike any they had ever witnessed. Years later, people would remember the spectacular techniques. They would remember the impossible dodges. They would remember the astonishing precision. But above all else, they would remember that the greatest victory of the night was not one fighter defeating another. It was one man replacing arrogance with humility. And that was the lesson Bruce Lee had intended to teach from the very first moment he chose to remain seated.